Greetings, scholars. The next video you're about to watch is going to consist of a series of different AP skills. Do want you to be prepared every Thursday or Friday of the week. We're going to be embarking upon AP skills, whether it's be Thursday or Friday. We'll be engaging in SAQs, LEQs, DBQs, and MCQs of various points. Take a look at these videos. The class of 2003 compiled a sequence of different videos to master stimulus multiple choice questions, stimulus based um, SAQs, and that's both stimulus and non-stimulus for MCQs and SAQs. We're going to figure out the format of both the LEQ and the DBQ, and we're also going to be talking about the format of the test. It's 3 hours and 15 minutes, and you got to know what exactly you're going to be tested on over these 9 periods we're going to cover. Enjoy the film, watch this throughout the year if you ever need support, but just know every week we are going to be working on AP skills. Thank you, class of 2023, for putting this together.
The AP US History exam is about 4 hours long and consists of 4 parts: the MCQ, the SAQ, the DBQ, and the LEQ. The MCQ is 55 questions and 55 minutes long. The SAQ is 40 minutes long and you have to answer 3 short sets of questions. After the SAQ, you are given a short 15-minute break. You then resume with the DBQ and stimulus-based essay question, in which you have an hour to answer. Finally, there is the LEQ, a 40-minute no-stimulus essay question. Out of the 55 MCQs on the test, there are only a minority that are stimulus questions, which means there are about a text or a picture or a graph, while non-stimulus questions have no text and they're just a question. There are 3 different prompts you can choose from. The LEQ, which includes prompts from periods 2 to 8, it is a non-stimulus essay question, so you basically have to know everything from the time period to perform well on it. You have to write the whole essay in 40 minutes, which includes an introduction and 2 body paragraphs. The DBQ question requires you to answer a question based on 7 source documents and your knowledge on the subject and time period. You have a 15-minute reading period, which allows you to source your documents and outline your essay. You can start before the 15-minute period, but it is recommended to take that time to source and outline. DBQ has prompts from periods 2 to 8. After the SAQ, you get a 15-minute break, where you prepare yourself for the rest of the test. You cannot leave the designated test area and cannot discuss the questions or anything related to the test.
Literally 8 and 11.
What is an MCQ? An MCQ is a multiple choice question. When it comes to the MCQs, it is important to put yourself in a testing mindset. Read the questions thoroughly, pay attention to the dates given in the question. For instance, if the question specifies dates 1491 to 1607, then you know that you should be thinking about period 1. When choosing your answers, think about it carefully. Go through a process of elimination. There's always the distractor, which is an answer choice that seems like the right answer but isn't. 2 blatantly wrong answers, and finally, the actual answer. When doing an MCQ, focus on the potential points you gained and not the one that you lost. And never change your answer unless you're 100% sure of it.
Hello, my name is Kevin Jimenez. It's my partner Emerald, and today we're going to teach you how to do the stimulus graph for the MCQs so you can get A in your exam. Take care, Emerald.
Yes, so there's going to be 55 minutes to answer 55 questions, and this portion of the test will take 40% of your test.
We're going to teach you how to do the stimulus graph of MCQs, starting with an example such as this, which we did in your AP test. This graph is talking about the slaves transporting to America through the Middle Passage. And like you see here, every time period it increases, and the numbers millions were brought into the Americas. I go.
So next we have to evaluate the prompts and the answers. So in this question, it's asking us to determine the reason why there was a lot of African American slaves transported into the Americas. So first things first, there's always going to be two wrong answers automatically, and then there's going to be another question that will be, I guess, the confuser, and then there's going to be a right question. So to determine which question is the right one, you look at the key terms that are used and you solve it.
So now we're gonna answer how to answer the MCQs. Grab a my bed. 1701 to 1801. So first, always get the prompt, and the prompt is asking me to analyze the slaves, increase of slaves from 1401 to 1450 my bad, 1450 to 1800. And look at the graph, you see there's an increase from here, 1450s, all the way to the 1800s. Off the bat, I have four questions: A, B, C, D. Always remember there is one right answer, one decoy, and two wrong answers. Off the bat, B and C are eliminated because they're off topic and are based on the prompt, so those are obviously eliminated. Um, D is the decoy because it does talk about slaves, but it is a confirmation of them bringing diseases to the New World, which is not done. That was Spaniards, Europeans. So the obviously answer is A, which is replacing indigenous laborers with aka indentured servants to Africans in the New World.
An excerpt stimulus MCQ is a multiple choice question that uses historical excerpts, usually letters, acts, and journal entries. The excerpt stimulus we will be covering takes place in period 3, aka the American Revolution. When facing this, the first thing you want to do is read the question. This is so you know what you're looking for when reading the excerpt. The question says, the issuing of the declaration in the excerpt best serves as evidence of the. So the first thing you do is read the source. Reading the source after allows you to know what the excerpt is about. As you can see, 1775 gives away that this takes place in period 3, which ranges from 1754 to 1800s. If you don't know what the Declaration of the Causes and Necessity of Taking Arms is, it is a document that justified the American people to armed resistance. Now you can read the excerpt. You should be able to do this on your own. MCQs always contain two questions that are absolutely wrong, one that looks right but is wrong, and then the right answer. The two obvious wrongs are A, because nowhere is abolitionism mentioned, and C, because the Declaration is against Britain, so it wouldn't make sense that they would consider themselves English. B is the question that looks right but is wrong because the Declaration justifies using arms against the British in a defense mode more than an offense mode, so the right answer here is D. Some final reminders are that always read the question first, know your timeline so the dates make sense, and take around 1 minute.
Welcome back to APUSH Period 4 Review. Today we're going to cover the short answer question section of the exam with an example from Period 4. Before we begin, we will summarize what you should expect on the exam. Once again, we have brought Darla, an APUSH experienced APUSH student, to guide us on this journey. So Darla, can you describe what the SAQ format looks like?
Of course. Students are only expected to answer 3 sets of SAQs, with the third one giving you 2 options to choose from, but only choose one. The first set is stimulus-based, as it will ask you to analyze and explain the interpretations between 2 secondary sources, in this case written text. Similarly, the second set is a stimulus-based, which could be written text, graphs, images, etc., but it will test you on your ability to identify causation and or make comparison in history. Lastly, the third set is up to you to choose. Each will ask you to show the same skills as the second, but each will contain its own respective skill. For example, one may strictly ask you to make a comparison, while the other skill will ask you to explain cause and effect. It is ultimately up to you, so choose wisely.
And do you have any tips on how to score all the points?
Yes, you will likely score all points through ACE method. ACE is an acronym for recommended steps to be successful on the SAQ. A stands for answering the question directly, C stands for citing specific sources of evidence to support your response, and E stands for explaining how your evidence proves your claim and is true. If you visualize, it's almost like a cycle.
And how much time would students have to complete all 3 sets?
For the entire SAQ section, students will only be given 40 minutes to complete all questions. With 3 sets to complete, it is recommended that you take around 13 minutes per each set, but obviously try to be as fast as possible. It may seem impossible and outrageous, especially when you're first starting out, but with practice it will get easier and more doable.
Great. Now we can move on to an example. We'll be utilizing a stimulus-based SAQ on period 4's Andrew Jackson. One SAQ looks like this, like before you, and for the sake of time we will only answer question B. So Darla, how do we begin?
Well, for starters, we should identify what the question is asking us. Question B is asking us to explain one event that caused the image to depict Andrew Jackson as a king. Well, I could reference Andrew Jackson's opposition to Henry Clay's American system, which is what the Whig Party took offense to. More formally, I would write one specific event that led to the perspective expressed in the image was Jackson's rejection of Henry Clay's American system. As you can see, I directly answered the question by rephrasing it and including my own claim so it doesn't sound like the exact same. Afterwards, I would go on to describe and define the American system and Jackson's reaction. Henry Clay's American system advocated for internal improvement, high tariffs, and a national bank for the United States. Jackson actively opposed the American system's agenda and often blocked legislation through presidential vetoes. Lastly is a link or explanation of how my evidence proves my claim. As a result, the Whig Party, who rose in opposition to Jackson's Democratic Republicans, labels him, King Andrew, as he emulated the abuse colonists endured under the British Parliament, such as political corruption.
Hey Alicia, I forgot. How do you write an LAQ?
Well, an LAQ in many ways has many parts. There are different understandings that one must be able to comprehend. Take this question as an example. Analyze the ways in which controversy over the extension of slavery into Western territories contributed to the coming of the Civil War. Confine your answer to the period of 1845 to 1861.
So the rubric on how to write an LAQ to get a 5 should be able to respond a prompt by giving a thesis and claim, which is worth 1 point. Then you will need contextualization, which is worth 1 point. After you need evidence. Now if this is, you can get either 1 point or 2 points. And the last one is analysis and reasoning, which is case as well. Get you the first point or even the second point.
When we look at the question, we can rephrase it in our own words to say something like, how does slavery establish when it's causing the beginning of the Civil War? Or we can phrase it in a way that makes us able to comprehend it better. We can also change it into a historical skill, and for this question, we can use it as logic.
Some quick context for this question can be Memphis Destiny, the westward extension, Missouri Compromise, popular sorority, the Mexican War, the Guadalupe Hidalgo, which led to the getting more land from Mexico territories.
Two clear ideas that we can put into perspective is the state rights determine whether or not states should become a slave state or a free state, and the issue of the unification played a huge role that led to the American Civil War.
Some evidence that we can use is Dred Scott. The Supreme Court decision had stated 3 things. Blacks were not citizens and therefore cannot sue the federal courts because slaves were masters' properties. They can be powered against their territory and held against their slavery, and Congress had no power to ban slavery from their territories.
Right, so another piece of evidence that we can use is Bleeding Kansas, which is a period for repeated outbreaks of violent guerrillas warfare between pro-slavery and anti-slavery forces following the creation of new territory in Kansas in 1854. And all, some 55 people were killed between 1855 and 1859.
crisis, confrontation between the states of South Carolina and the federal government in 1832 and 33 over the former attempts to declare null and void within the states of the federal treaties of 1828 and 1832.
Yeah, and the Missouri Compromise plays a big role because as the United States have federal legislation that stopped northern attempts to forever prohibit slavery expansion by admitting Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state.
After your evidence, you put your link. Your link has to connect to your historical thinking skills you choose. You connect your claim and evidence together to get a good link.
Now, some advice for an LEQ is to not black out during the test because time goes by very fast, especially when you're writing. From one point, you're writing from 45 minutes to 15 minutes. If you don't know what to write, then make sure to write something from that period or somewhere along that period that goes back to the question.
Hi, welcome back to our show. I'm Ebony.
I'm Jocelyn.
And today we're going to show you how to write a DBQ.
And today's question is, evaluate the extent which reform movements changed United States society from 1877 to 1914.
And now we're going to pass it off to...
Okay, to get a 6 out of 7 on the DBQ, you have to answer the question with defensible thesis, meaning claim and true reasons. Although I can teach you to get a complexity point, I can only really teach you setup because only about 2% of students actually get the complexity point. But you can start off by saying although X, Y, and Z, because of X, Y, and Z, this reason. Now for contextualization, you have to go at least 50 years beyond for the APUSH exam. You at least, for example, this question asks how reform movements changed United States society from 1877. You have to go at least like 1827 or the late 1820s to early 1830s. And then for evidence, you have to use at least 6 of the 7 documents to get a 6 out of 7. But it's actually a lot safer if you use all 7 documents, just in case you don't describe one as well. And then you have to at least provide, and then there's no specific place where you have to provide evidence beyond the documents, but it would be useful to provide evidence beyond the documents, as that would also increase your chances of getting the complexity point. And then for at least 3 of the 7 documents, you have to use historical thinking skills like historical contextualization, point of view.
Evaluate the extent to which reform movements changed United States society from 1877 to 1914. The question is asking us to explain how reform movements altered American society in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The rhetorical thinking skill is continuity
And the next topic is sourcing. What sourcing is essentially is where you find the main idea of each document and put them into categories. This can be optional, but is highly recommended, as not only would it save you time, but you'll stay more organized.
Now I'm going to talk about pieces.
What's pieces, Ebony?
PIECES stands for Political, Innovation, Economic, Cultural, Environmental, and Social, which can be categories where you could group your 6 documents into.
Don't source. It's not that it's not recommended, it's that it's an actual rule. Don't rather paraphrase your evidence in your own words rather than quoting documents word for word. Your main idea is going to be what's going to be structuring your essay, what's going to be structuring your claim. And one piece of advice that I have is to focus most of your time on the essay rather than any other part like the intro or the conclusion, because that's what AP graders are going to be looking at the most. And then you have to show at least some complexity of the topic that you're writing about. So you have to have at least some evidence beyond the documents for every document that you use.
And for time, don't stress as much. You will have 15 minutes to read and 45 minutes to write. So don't waste your time.
Go. Quickly skim the documents, but carefully read the questions.
Some advice I would say, focus on sourcing.
One advice would be use your time wisely because the time is very valuable in this situation.
Make sure you pay attention and do your work.
Lastly, just try your best and you'll do fine, I guess.
Thank you for coming to our show. We'll see you next time.
We come live to you guys from Los Angeles, California. Thank you for joining me in this press conference. We'll be discussing the do's and don'ts of APUSH. Alright, let's talk about the do's of APUSH. Alright, scholars, so first things first, you gotta take the formatives seriously. These formatives will allow you to develop your skills that will be needed in the AP test. They will be required. Alright, do number 2, make a study group. The more perspectives you get, the better you'll understand the content. And so what if your friends explain it better? Then it's better to, you know, create that study group and just dumb it down, like one of my good friends said. Now, we also gotta watch Heimler videos or any history related videos that you'll think that will help you succeed in APUSH. But it is really what's it called? Recommended. It's really recommended to watch Heimler videos because these videos will they're really packed with information, and if you're ever like stuck with anything, Heimler will break it down for you. Now, do number 4, read all the resources you have. You'll have the AMSCO book and the book that says I forgot what it's called, but it's Steps to a 5, and it's the APUSH edition, obviously, because you're taking APUSH. But yes, read all the resources you have, because like I previously mentioned, the more perspectives you have, the more likely you are to understand the content. And what's better than 1 book? 2 books. Alright, and lastly, the final do, ask for clarification. It's okay to be confused sometimes, so make sure to just ask for clarification. You'll lose nothing from it. Instead, you'll actually gain from it. Because let's say you fall behind, you won't be able to recover that. And even if you do, it's just going to be a hassle. So just ask for clarification when you need it. Alright, thank you for listening to the do's. Okay, we did the do's, now let's do the don'ts. Don't just read notes. Okay, let's explain this. Reading notes can help you, sure. But writing notes will help you even more, because it'll force you to actually take time and think about what you have to say in the content. And besides, it'll also allow you to understand the content in the best way you know, because obviously it's your writing, and so it's your ideas. Okay, don't number 2, don't leave everything for last minute. This will just save you time, and you'll just have a much better time if you don't leave it last minute, because you don't want to be the type to be stressing over it last minute and just being like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore, this and that. So yeah, just don't leave it last minute. Now for the don't number 3, don't be afraid to sacrifice. What I mean by this is, don't be afraid to sacrifice time with friends, time with family, or just sleeping. You're gonna have to sacrifice all that stuff because APUSH is a rigorous course, and so you have to be prepared for it. And sacrificing these things will just open more time for you to study for APUSH. Don't number 4, don't treat this as a normal class, because it's not. What this class is, it's a college course. It's an advanced placement class. So do not take it as a normal class. And if you take it serious, it's basically preparing you for college course classes, because it's a literal college course class. So by just taking it serious, you'll just be prepared for college. Way better than other people that don't take AP classes. And finally, the obvious one, don't give up. Giving up is never an option in APUSH. Our teacher, Mr. Moore, he'll assure you won't give up, but you also have to put your part in, so don't give up. And so, with that being said, once you finish the course, you'll be fine, and you'll feel accomplished. Anyways, thank you, and have a good day, enjoy APUSH, and good luck.
Yeah, we're ready. Snoop Dogg. Ready?
actually sign up for this class. As such, I'll become familiar with better research methods, note-taking tactics, and study techniques. These essential writing and research skills will help me in college-level humanities classes. While this may be like a drawback, being challenged in school actually makes me a better student. In fact, studies have shown that more students are challenged in their courses and the better they perform academically. And considering the coursework, there's no question that the AP U.S. History will challenge my writing and research skills.
Why did I sign up for APUSH? 10th grade history, I passed with 2 A's each semester. I thought APUSH would be a good class to take. At least I passed it, so everything worked out.
I joined APUSH because I thought that this would be something valuable for me to understand and then see how college work would be like and how this would help me a lot in the future.
There was 2 main reasons why I joined APUSH. Number one was because I honestly thought it was going to be a lot easier, but not. It was pretty hard, not gonna lie. Second reason, I was kind of forced against my own will. So yeah, those are my 2 main reasons why I joined APUSH.
I joined this class because I felt like it and I wanted a challenge. So
how to prepare yourself for the AP exam. Start with old material. Begin by reviewing the material you have already completed in class. The second would be invest in the AP prep book. The grade test prep book will help you review essential content, introduce like the test format and question types. The third will be watch Heimler. The fourth will be go to tutoring, and the final reason would be to ask the teacher for help.
A few ways you can prepare yourself for the AP exam are watching YouTube videos, asking advice from previous APUSH students, memorize vocabulary, practice all the different things that are going to be on the test, like the DBQ and the MCQs. And yeah.
All right, and that's all she wrote, folks. Thank you, class of 2023, for getting through this year, working so hard all the way to the very end. Your work will pay dividends for the scholars that come in this class after you and after that. We welcome you, class of 2024. You are officially in APUSH. Get to the books, be ready, prepare yourself, and study, study, study.